Are you sure there's nobody else in the house? Would you like to go upstairs and check?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for films based on real-life serial killers. We'll be excluding movies where real killers served as inspiration, but the plot is mostly fictional, such as with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Silence of the Lambs.
We can be as different as we want to be, but you can't kill people.
Says who?
Number 30, The Gray Man.
It's kind of you to offer,
I'm not
but...
kind, Mrs. Carson. It's a selfish thing, really. You see, it's such a rare occasion that I get to see my own grandchildren.
Albert Fish acquired a handful of chilling monikers during his lifetime, speaking to the frightening impact of his grisly legacy. The Gray Man dramatizes his story from the viewpoints of both the man himself and Detective William King. The real-life murder of Grace Budd serves as the framing device for a hard-boiled detective story that's complete with noir-esque narration.
Grace, come say hello to Mr. Howard. He's taking Edward and Willie to work on his farm.
Pleased to see you again, Mr. Howard.
I'm so very pleased to see you, Grace.
Though not shy on violence, the narrative favors investigative cat-and-mouse elements and personality analysis over blood and gore. Most haunting is Patrick Beauchaux's performance, which feels descended from Anthony Hopkins' legendary portrayal of Hannibal Lecter. Fish was thankfully apprehended, but this movie's atmosphere may leave you worried that there are still others like him, out there somewhere.
The long-sought alleged slayer of little Grace Budd, Albert Fish, is being moved from Toown jail to White Plains, where he will stand trial for first-degree murder.
Number 29, The Capture of the Green River Killer. The Green River slayings lasted for nearly 2 decades. One of the people responsible for the killer's capture is David Reichert, whose efforts this film follows. There are slight liberties taken with the story, but it also includes fascinating details such as Reichert's interview with serial killer Ted Bundy.
It's personal. And I could tell by looking at you, Dave. It's personal for you, too.
Subtle in its storytelling, the movie builds towards the eventual capture of the villain, later identified as Gary Ridgway. Unlike most entries in the genre, this one isn't known for its scary quality. Instead, the capture of the Green River Killer takes viewers along the long road to bringing Ridgway to justice.
Howard! You're a coward, Gary. You're a coward. You're evil. You're a monster. You're a broken thing!
Number 28, Dear Mr. Gasy. The infamous John Wayne Gacy makes his first appearance on our list here. Criminology student Jason Moss looks to understand the mind of a serial slayer. He writes to Gacy, acting as an admirer to gain Gacy's trust.
I'm sure there are many others who write you, but I hope you take the time to write me back. You'll see that I'm a pretty nice guy. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Your friend, Jason Moss.
While the premise might seem far-fetched, it's actually based on the real Moss's correspondence with Gacy. The film dramatizes some of the events, but retains the emotional impact on Moss's psyche. Despite what it sounds like, Dear Mr. Gasy doesn't portray the titular killer in a relatable way. We see that there's no understanding a person capable of such violence.
Do you have any idea how long it would take the guards to get here if you screamed? Maybe 1 or 2 minutes. I could kill you right now if I wanted to.
Some viewers might be uncomfortable with how the subject matter is portrayed, but that's what this film is going for. Number 27, An Officer and a Murderer. When it comes to safety, it's better to trust no one. People like Russell Williams prove why. The former colonel was a seemingly model member of the community until his true nature was exposed. An Officer and a Murderer depicts the events that turned Williams into the criminal we know him to be.
No. Linda, don't take off the blindfold until 200. Promise?
I promise.
When his creepy curiosities get the best of him, Williams gradually turns his attention to bigger crimes. The villain also continues to present his facade of a family man, all the while searching for his next victim. The movie isn't completely accurate, but Williams' fall from grace is shown for a larger audience to be aware of.
How could you do this to all those women? You've made me a victim.
Number 26, The Nightstalker. The Nightstalker is one of several names given to Richard Ramirez. The murderer was convicted for his rampage in the 80s, ultimately dying in prison while on death row. This film is set during his lifetime and told through the perspective of a fictional lawyer named Kit. When a seemingly innocent man is convicted of murder, Kit has to get Ramirez to confess instead.
I'm here because there's another man on death row in Texas, Harrison Johnson. He's set to die for murders that I don't think he committed, for murders I think you committed.
During these dramatic events, we're taken back to Ramirez's heinous past. Thanks to Lou Diamond Phillips' performance, viewers see how Ramirez gathered victims through charisma and intimidation.
You like to think because you're so cleaned up on the outside, no one can see how dirty you are on the inside. But I see it.
The Nightstalker also leaves room to show the impact the killer had on the community. We watch in horror as he thrives on forcing people to live in fear. Number 25, Appropriate Adult. The West couple remains among the most wicked people in recent history. Fred and Rosemary West committed over a dozen murders, including their own child. Appropriate Adult dramatizes the titular role social worker Janet Leach performed for Fred West.
Has Fred said anything privately to you about any of this?
I can't tell you. I owe a duty of confidence.
Bound by a duty of confidence, Leach helplessly learns about West's reprehensible actions. Much as it's portrayed in the film, the real Leach also struggled under the weight of West's confessions. Having her as the main character provides an outsider's point of view. This framing device prevents West's killings from being glamorized while respecting the memory of his victims.
Do you find that upsetting, Fred? There were things in Rose's life you didn't know about.
Number 24, Boston Strangler. Catching criminals can be interrupted because of flaws in the system. In this biographical film, reporters Loretta McLaughlin and Jean Cole piece together the story of the Boston Strangler's crimes. Unfortunately, institutional sexism prevents them from bringing this to light.
We beat everyone in the whole damn city, and you're just gonna drop it?
Yes, I am.
The story is good.
The story is a headache I don't need right now. And you're back on the lifestyle desk.
McLaughlin and Cole's struggles allow the killer to continue his spree for years. While they were ultimately able to publicize the truth, lives could have been saved if the authorities acted sooner. Boston Strangler is a valid behind-the-scenes look at how complicated it can be to seek justice.
Nobody bothered to get to the truth. And people got away with murder.
It's a long overdue story that sheds light on these brave women who refuse to be silenced. Number 23, A is for Acid. John Haig became infamous as the acid bath murderer in the 40s. Misinterpreting the law, Haig confessed to killing people before dissolving their bodies in acid. A is for Acid is told from the killer's perspective, taking viewers from his early days to his final moments.
She's completely disappeared. I destroyed her with acid. You can't prove murder without a body, can you?
However, it focuses more on his selfish motives rather than lingering on his twisted mind. The film is paced as a cat-and-mouse thriller, as Haig covers his tracks by creating a web of lies. The serial killer's actions have been adapted in a number of works, but A is for Acid arguably presents the most detailed account.
You can't come and visit me. Would you at least write to them after I'm gone?
Number 22, In the Light of the Moon.
Can you tell us another ghost story, Eddie?
Sure.
The horrific crimes of Ed Gein have inspired a number of films over the years, including Psycho and Deranged. This 2000 film is definitely less well-known, but it remains a noteworthy exploration of the killer's dark legacy. In the Light of the Moon is also known under the more basic and to-the-point title Ed Gein, and stars Steve Railsback, more on him later, as the titular killer.
Ed, why is it you're always around when someone goes missing?
I don't know, Judy. Just luck, I guess. Let's say we go downtown, check out all the excitement.
Critical reputation was overall not kind to the film, but horror fans did praise Railsback's performance, as well as the intensity of the storytelling. Basically, this is low-budget exploitation filmmaking aimed squarely at that audience, but it does the job. Number 21, Carla.
Turn around. Remember to smile for the camera, okay?
As far as Canadian killers go, there are few couples more infamous than Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka. The notorious case is dramatized here with the 2006 film Carla, using both the severity of the couple's crimes as well as the outrage around Carla's release from prison as fuel for its story. Bernardo and Homolka worked together during their spree in the early 90s, yet Carla managed to strike a plea deal with the prosecutors, claiming that abuse from Bernardo forced her hand. Carla paints Homolka as an accomplice, but also as a victim in her own right. For this reason, the film naturally generated a lot of controversy upon release.
I killed my little sister. How can anyone ever be forgiven for that? I think about what I did every day. I really do.
Number 20, No Man of God. Films about Ted Bundy were far from new by the time No Man of God's release. Still, it offers another way to perceive the killer. Based on the correspondence between Bundy and FBI agent Bill Hagmaier, the story shows Bundy's knack for getting under people's skin.
Oh, you FBI guys, you're all the same. You think you're better than me. You're all just Hoover disciples riding through on your high horses, thinking you've got the biggest brains in the room.
During their conversations, Hagmaier finds himself being significantly affected by the killer's way with words. Thanks to the chemistry between actors Elijah Wood and Luke Kirby, the strange connection between Hagmaier and Bundy comes across with disturbing clarity.
She knows. It's her last moments on earth. And she's mine. This is it.
No Man of God flirts with the idea of Bundy's redemption before peeling the mask off. The film is a bold take that adds a new layer to familiar material. Number 19, The Golden Glove. Serial killer films, by design, don't typically make for a pleasant viewing experience. Even by the standards of the genre, though, The Golden Glove can be an especially difficult watch. The divisive film is primarily defined by its unrelentingly grim tone. This isn't to say that the film is bad, per se. Rather, this dramatization of Fritz Honka's crimes against sex workers in the 1970s is just, well, extremely dour and brutal. It feels like an almost voyeuristic examination of the crimes without much depth as to why they're happening. In fact, it's been called, quote, one of the most vile serial killer movies ever made. Don't say we didn't warn you. Number 18, Summer of Sam.
What do you want? I want you to go out and kill.
Kill! Kill!
There's a lot to appreciate about Spike Lee's Summer of Sam, co-written by Lee and Sopranos star Michael Imperioli. For starters, there's a great cross-section of stories and character arcs to the film, which is set during the summer of 1977, as a terrified New York City found itself at the mercy of David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. There's also Lee's attention to detail, which nails the vibe of the city at the time.
Look, there's a homicidal maniac running around the neighborhood. You don't want to do anything about it?
There's tension at every turn, as scenes with Berkowitz are intercut with the compelling personal dramas of the characters. It's proof that not all serial killer films need to be gratuitous slashers or slow-burn procedurals. Summer of Sam is in a class all its own. Number 17, Memories of Murder. Bong Joon-ho's Oscar win for Parasite felt like something of a shared victory for fans of genre cinema. A truly remarkable and challenging film was getting recognized on the grandest stage of them all. That said, fans of Bong know that Parasite was by no means his first great film. In 2003, he gave us this examination of South Korea's most infamous serial killer. Memories of Murder follows the case of Lee Chun-jae, who confessed to killing over a dozen people between 1986 and 1994. Today, it's seen as an early classic from the director, one that utilizes social satire, dark humor, and police procedural elements to craft a thriller that's, well, actually thrilling. Number 16, The Frozen Ground. Speaking of police procedurals, The Frozen Ground came and went in 2013 without much fanfare. But true crime buffs seeking a dramatization of the Robert Hansen case will want to check it out. Manson became known in Alaska as the Butcher Baker, an unstable and angry man who, in the 70s and 80s, kidnapped women and flew them out to the woods to hunt them down. The Frozen Ground cast John Cusack as Hanson, with the actor actually possessing a passing resemblance to the man. Critics also praised Nicolas Cage's performance as the state trooper tasked with bringing the killer to justice.
You're saying, no way, those are just places where I hunted.
Oh, I believe they were, Bob. Places where you've hunted.
Yep.
Number 14, The Boston Strangler.
I like a sweet drink. Maybe Kahlua? You know why, May?
Let's face it, many movies about real serial killers are cheap, drab affairs, but not The Boston Strangler. Based on the same true story as an earlier entry on this list, Richard Fleischer directed, and it stars Hollywood A-listers Henry Fonda and Tony Curtis, who received a Golden Globe nomination for his work. The movie was extremely controversial upon its release in 1968. This was not only for its content, but also because many critics considered it exploitative and immoral.
All of a sudden, I'd lose it. I mean, I could actually, I could see it coming out of my head and kind of floating out of the box.
The movie plays fast and loose with the facts. Albert DeSalvo most definitely did not suffer from multiple personality disorder, but the performances and production values are all so good that we can see past the fabrications.
But I don't belong here.
Number 14, Helter Skelter.
It's not nice to snitch, Shorty.
Helter Skelter was adapted from the 1974 Vincent Bugliosi and Kurt Gentry true crime book, which covered the infamous murders and trials of the Manson family. It aired on CBS over 2 nights in 1976. While you might expect a made-for-TV movie from the 70s to be less than great, the film perfectly captures the pandemonium, hysteria, and sheer shock of the events. Steve Railsback is straight-up horrifying as Charles Manson. Just look at those eyes. And the movie provides viewers with a highly detailed and factual representation of the infamous case.
If I could, I'd grab this microphone, I'd beat your brains out with it because that's what she deserves, that's what she deserves.
It was nominated for 3 Emmys and a Directors Guild of America award, proving that serial killer movies and prestige can in fact go hand in hand.
You're just making a fool out of yourself, partner.
Number 13, To Catch a Killer.
Ooh, you got it locked real tight. I don't know if I can...
To Catch a Killer is another television movie, but like Helter Skelter, the fact that it was made for television does nothing to negatively impact its quality. The movie follows Michael Riley's Lieutenant Kozenzak as he becomes suspicious of the charming and popular John Wayne Gacy, who is played spectacularly by Brian Dennehy.
Oh, Mr. Policeman. Don't you know a clown can get away with murder?
This movie is different from most in that it does not depict Gacy's killings. It's more interested in the cat-and-mouse game between the police and Gacy, and as such, it's more like a detective film than anything else. It forgoes blood and guts to tell a more intense and personal story, and it's all the better for it.
So please, you tell me, what more do we need?
Number 12, Dahmer.
What's this? This is our engagement ring.
While Dahmer isn't perfect, it definitely has a few good things going for it. For one, Jeremy Renner is spectacular as Jeffrey Dahmer, arguably the sickest serial killer in history. He imbues Dahmer with both a horrific sense of psychopathy while remaining, bizarrely, almost relatable. It's a tricky tightrope walk of a performance, but Renner miraculously pulls it off. The movie also explores Dahmer's character in a way that other adaptations may be too afraid of or unwilling to do. While he is a psychopath through and through, we come to understand his twisted motivations through the writing and Renner's complex performance. It's a little low budget and rough around the edges, but Renner makes it all worthwhile. Number 11, The Deliberate Stranger.
Call me Ted. All my friends do.
Yes, it's another made-for-TV movie. This one aired on NBC in 1986 and stars Mark Harmon as Ted Bundy, one of the most infamous serial killers of all time. Harmon is magnetic as Bundy, earning a Golden Globe nomination and the praise of Polly Nelson, Bundy's real lawyer, who called Harmon and the film, quote, stunningly accurate. As it was made for TV, the movie omits the grisly details of Bundy's crimes, but Harmon's chillingly charming performance is scarier than blood and gore could ever be. It's the killers and not the blood that fascinates us, and the deliberate stranger knows it. Number 10. Charlie Says. Charlie Manson's family receives attention in this biographical drama. While Manson's presence is felt, the film centers around the three women who killed for him. The perspective of Leslie Van Houten, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Susan Atkins plays out as they remain entranced with Manson's teachings.
Where are you from? I'm from the now. I'm from everywhere.
Hello, I'm Lulu. On the list they gave you, I'm sure it says Leslie, but I'm Lulu.
And I'm Katie.
In the 70s, human rights activist Carleen Faith attempted to break the women out of their delusions. As its title implies, the three are too far gone under Manson's influence.
I know everyone thinks we're these scary creatures who committed these horrible crimes, but we were just engaging in the dance of life and death. Charlie says there is no death.
Although they are humanized to an extent, Charlie Says reaffirms that their crimes are irredeemable. It's an interesting character study bolstered by sharp performances by its cast. Number 9. My Friend Dahmer. It isn't every serial killer film that takes its source material from a graphic novel, but then again, My Friend Dahmer isn't your average serial killer film. For starters, both fans and critics responded positively to how the film captured the facts of the case, while also working on a cinematic level.
Sorry. Why'd you do that? I just wanted to see what its insides looked like.
Ross Lynch's performance as Dahmer opens the door to understanding the circumstances behind his mental state, while also never apologizing for the horrible and cruel nature of his crimes. In a world where nuance is often forgotten, My Friend Dahmer gets a lot right, and is definitely deserving of your time.
Where are you headed? I made it this far. I'm headed back to Akron. You wanna party some more?
Number 8. Ted Bundy.
Hi there. Hi there, my name's Ted. Nice to meet you.
The succinctly titled Ted Bundy stars Michael Riley Burke as the notorious serial killer, capturing the man's dual nature quite well. On the one hand, there's the charm that Bundy uses to lure victims into a false sense of security. Then, there's the dark side of Bundy, the deviant behavior that eventually leads to criminal activity on the most shocking level.
I'll take you for a ride in if you'd like. Please? Pretty please?
Okay. The film has its flaws, but Ted Bundy really hinges on the performance of Burke, pushing what might otherwise be a flop into one of the more well-known adaptations of the case. Number 7. Citizen X.
I called you Citizen X. I'm sure a lot of it is wildly incorrect. Would you like me to read it to you?
Andre Chikatilo is one of the most notorious and unrepentant serial killers of all time, a ruthless man who terrorized the USSR for over a decade. It's a challenging tale to adapt, yet this excellent made-for-cable movie more than succeeds. Citizen X was produced for HBO in 1995 and stars Jeffrey DeMunn as Chikatilo, with Stephen Ray, Donald Sutherland, and Max von Sydow rounding out the cast.
To be a psychiatrist in this country is to be an expert on paranoia, whether you meant to be or not.
The film earned Cable Ace, Emmy, and Golden Globe Awards, striking an effective balance between the grim facts of the crimes and the authorities' relentless hunt for justice. Citizen X is another reminder that made-for-TV doesn't need to be a bad thing. Number 6. Extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile. Skeptics may have called out the next entry on our list for its stunt casting of Zac Efron as Ted Bundy, but the former High School Musical star certainly proved he was up to the task.
I find it absurd to ask for mercy for something that I did not do.
Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile was a worthy addition to Netflix's true crime library, and endeavored to add something new to the well-known case of Ted Bundy. In this, the film was partially successful, but most of Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile hangs its hat on Efron, and his ability to turn on the charm.
Think I must be lost.
You ran 2 stop signs, son.
I know. I couldn't make your car. The headlights were in my eyes, and to be honest, I got a little bit spooked.
The actor honestly does a great job making the audience see how Bundy could balance 2 very different lives, without ever making excuses for the horrific crimes. Number 5. 10 Rillington Place.
It didn't work.
Oh, that's better then.
She's upstairs on the bed.
This movie depicts the story of John Christie, an Englishman who killed 8 or more people at the titular 10 Rillington Place between 1943 and 1953. What makes this film so captivating is its authenticity. Richard Attenborough is mesmerizing as Christie, and John Hurt received a BAFTA nomination for his work as Timothy Evans, the man who was falsely accused of Christie's crimes.
3 in a bed, eh? How about that?
The house's exterior scenes were shot on the actual real-life street, although they were forced to film in nearby number 7 rather than the historic number 10. This helps bring the story to life and immerses us in one of the most notorious crimes in English history.
Murder trial it was. Dreadful business. Appalling.
Number 4, Snowtown.
I'm John.
How you doing?
You all right? Pretty good.
The Snowtown murders rocked Australia in the 1990s. Also known as the Bodies in Barrels murders, the brutal killings were committed by 3 young men, with the help of a 4th, who considered themselves vigilantes. The film pulls no punches. It is a brutal, visceral experience, which is aided by the director's choice to use real locals rather than professional actors for most of the roles. Snowtown serves as Justin Kurzel's feature directorial debut, although you wouldn't know it. The movie is professionally made, and the realistic approach it takes may be enough to turn a few viewers' stomachs. This is real horror based on real events, and it makes for a highly disturbing watch.
Hi, Mom, it's me, Fred. I'm on my way to Perth.
Number 3, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
I'd like to kill somebody.
Must mean you go for a ride, Otis.
This film is an interesting anomaly on our list. It's based on the many confessions of real-life murderer Henry Lee Lucas, but the majority of those confessions turned out to be false. However, the infamy of this case and the fact that some of Henry's actual experiences are portrayed too earns it a spot here. Michael Rooker brilliantly plays Henry, and Tom Tolles plays Otis, a character based on the real Otis Toole. The movie is a bleak, uncompromising, and realistic portrayal of a psychopath, and as such, it was immediately slapped with an X rating by the MPAA. It's remained controversial throughout the years due to its content, although the film's direction and Rooker's terrifying performance have remained consistently praised, despite it not being an easy watch by any means.
Tell her you're sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Number 2, Monster.
I'm just trying to make some money. If there's any way you wanna, help me out? Maybe I could help you out,
There is one overwhelming reason to see this movie: Charlize Theron. Theron is completely unrecognizable, both physically and mentally, as serial killer Eileen Wuornos. Theron was showered with accolades for her performance as the client-murdering sex worker, winning a SAG Award, a Golden Globe, and an Academy Award. Not to mention having Roger Ebert call it, quote, one of the greatest performances in the history of cinema. So, yeah, we think she did okay.
Maybe if I just get a little help, then you can help me.
Her portrayal allows us to both fear and feel sorry for Eileen, a killer haunted by mental health challenges and the circumstances of her tragic life. It's both harrowing and heartbreaking.
I'm not a bad person. I'm a real good person, right?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Zodiac.
I'm not the Zodiac. And if I was, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
If only all serial killer movies could be as good as Zodiac. David Fincher, who knows a thing or two about on-screen murder, directs, and the movie stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, and Robert Downey Jr. as the men hunting the enigmatic Zodiac killer of the late 60s and early 70s.
I gave that to you. You and Armstrong never would have found
This may not be Zodiac. Does that matter to you? Does it matter that Riverside may not be able to make a case against their suspect because of you?
This is a thriller done right. The performances are outstanding, the content dark and dreary, and the murder scenes, few as they may be, disturbingly realistic. Zodiac is an unsettling and captivating look into one of the most infamous cold cases of all time, and it will have you researching the Zodiac killer long after the credits roll.
This is the Zodiac speaking.
Which serial killer film had the biggest impact on you? Let us know in the comments.
We had him. We just let him walk away.